ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। समस्त भारतीयों को and all our brothers and sisters across the globe, wherever they are, in the different countries, in the different continents, in the different time zones, and of course, different health, wellness, and economic wellness, physical wellness, spiritual wellness, environmental wellness, mental wellness, because wellness is very important at this point of time. And particularly when we have got Dr. Shilpi Mohan ma'am, cardiologist, all the way our advisor who is with us from Kyrgyzstan, looking after Central Asia, and a very, very eminent, distinguished guest this evening, Professor Dr. Sanjeev Chaturvedi ji. He is advisor to India, Uzbekistan, the entrepreneurship development. When we talk about the center which has come up at Tashkent in Uzbekistan in Central Asia, and what a beautiful journey Professor Saab has got. Dr. Shilpi Mohan ma'am will discuss in detail in due course of time. Let me have a privilege to share with all of us a little bit about the ICSI so that we all are on the common frequency, because Professor Dr. Sanjeev Chaturvedi ji is with us on the platform for the first time. Now, ladies and gentlemen, today is also 25th of November, International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. तो जितने लोग अत्याचार कर रहे हैं, आप समझ जाइए और संभल जाइए। अब इस चीज को बंद कीजिए, and we have to make a new order, new world, beautiful world, where everything has to be done with the women empowerment, women respect, women recognition, women participation, and they got to be part of our journey everywhere, wherever we are. India, not only 5 trillion economy, the dream of Honorable Prime Minister, it will become 10 trillion also, 15 trillion also, 20 trillion also. But in that part, women are going to play very, very important role. And I think both the distinguished guests will endorse that statement. Now, ladies and gentlemen, ICSI, International Chamber for Service Industry, since 1994. We are with the Indian diaspora, and I left Indian Army, and I was the first Indian Army officer to go on deputation to the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. And it was a privilege to serve in a very humble way in the Ministry of Tourism. And that was the time when there was so much of learning and so much of pickup. And immediately when I left in September 1993, the Ministry of Tourism, I was given the responsibility for. It was indeed a great pleasure to meet all brothers, sisters across the globe. And that was the beginning when, for the first time in 1994, non-resident Indians coming to India on a confluence, and focus was services sector, service industry. And now we have come a long way. 27th North India Pravasi Divas took place on 13th of January 2021. Due to pandemic, it was basically all digital from the world over. People joined us, and the best part was it was from morning 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., 12 hours non-stop, giving an opportunity to 6,000 people to be the part of this journey. Focus on education, skills, tourism, and entertainment, wellness, MSME. We are also privileged that 21st of June 2019, International Yoga Day, almost 10,000 people participated on a common platform with the Ayurvedic doctors, nurses, couple of other people, health and wellness workers. They also joined us. Now, when I look back, 1994, we started initially Parvasi's Confluence. But then the Honorable Prime Minister of India was a great visionary. And in 2003, then the Honorable Prime Minister of India, late Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, gave the complete recognition. And on 9th of January, for the first time, there was a Pravasi Bharatiya Divas. One of my senior officers from the armed forces, he was that time with the Ministry of External Affairs. He took a lead, and from there, the journey started. Now, ladies and gentlemen, during the deputation, It was really indeed a great privilege, because whatsoever best can be done. So 87, 88, right up to 1993, we set up India's first travel and tourism institute for the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. And right over there, for the first time, we drafted India's MBA tourism curriculum, which was recognized and approved by UGC. As I was on deputation from the Indian Army, there was a responsibility to take care of the armed forces also. And the Lieutenant General, Adjutant General Saab, he gave the permission, consent, recognition, and patronage. And we set up for Indian Army, Army Institute of Hotel Management and Catering Technology in Bangalore. And it's a privilege today. It's flourishing. I'm very happy. 1994, when we came with the Parvasi's Chamber, that time itself we decided we will look after children, we'll look after teachers, educators, counselors, and all the people those are in stake of education. India's first finishing school for service industry was set up in 1994. It was a great privilege. It was really nice because we started getting less privileged children from the far-flung areas of India. Those are in the remotest part, and we are privileged, we are happy. Almost 52,000 youth in the last 27 years have gone from the finishing school, and most of them, they are working abroad in different countries. It's a great privilege. And there was a unique part, no money to be taken from any child. All the central government schemes of the various ministries were taken. We are so very happy that we focused on Northeast quite a bit, and we took a lot of children. Those are STs, SCs, OBCs, minorities. And here are the teachers program, because teachers are the one those shape and those groom the children. With the UGC, it was a great privilege. For the service industry, we designed the entire curriculum for the bachelor's and the master degree in the service sector. All the services components we had taken, there are 54 verticals. Assam, Arunachal, Sikkim, such a beautiful journey with all the 8 states of Northeast. And for medical tourism, with the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, there was a great initiative, and we had done a couple of programs with them. Media entertainment industry plays very important role in services sector. The other day, we were hearing quite a bit of people, those were talking from the chamber, that is Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, and where they were talking about media entertainment industry. Ladies and gentlemen, we are privileged that our chairman, who is at present taking care of this particular vertical, worked with Yash Chopra ji for 20 years, Raj Kapoor ji, before that with Sippy Sahab, Gulzar Sahab, and it's a great learning from him for the radio, television, theater, music, films, animation. And we are very happy that in 2015, our chamber gave the roadmap to the Ministry of Tourism on cinematic tourism, film tourism, and film-induced tourism. And there's a lot being done by Ministry of Information Broadcasting and Ministry. And here is Lieutenant our Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji for the Northeast part of India. We started a new journey. The finishing school was set up right next to the Guwahati Airport in Assam to take care of entire Northeast. Cinematic tourism with the ASEAN for the entire Northeast. Great credit goes to Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. Janu Barwaji, one of the leading director, producer, and writer, cinematographer from the Northeast, he was with us. Manipur, we had done the services exports. Nagaland, we were with the United Nations. The airport needed, a lot of facelift, expansion at Guwahati. So there was a big confluence of all domestic and international airports. And Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India took initiative, and there was an ASEAN Study Center opened up in Nehu campus in Shillong. The present Chief Minister of Assam was in 2016, the Honorable Health Minister. We have done medical tourism, wellness tourism, and how there could be an export of the manpower from the Northeast. Honorable Prime Minister inaugurated on 3rd and 4th February 2018, Advantage Assam, 6,000 delegates on a common platform, wonderful event. And with the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, 12 sectors were identified in the services sector to be given facelift. Ministry of MSME, micro, small and medium enterprise, playing very important role. We are proud of them and we are thankful to Honorable Finance Minister of India. She gave the clearance on 13th of May with the consent and the vision of the Honorable Prime Minister on 11th of May, Atmanirbhar Bharat last year, and manufacturing sector and services sector being brought at par. But of course, little unfortunate, the world got into a little different order. 25th March, complete lockdown. We had been focusing on education, skills, teachers, youth, making education relevant. Because mental wellness, physical wellness, spiritual wellness, environmental wellness. And imagine on 29th of July, last year, the Honorable Prime Minister gave the new education policy to the whole country. And I'm proud and I'm privileged that 149 countries, 11,000 people came on the webinar. Our senior patron based out of California, Woodbury University, Professor Satinder Demanji, our president based out of Thailand, Dr. Ramesh Kodamalji, Malaysia, Cambodia, our Sandeep Majumdarji, Singapore, Anil Manochaji, and UNESCO gave a lot of support. And we had a wonderful Eric Fault. We are so grateful to you. Thank you very much, UNESCO, all the efforts. We have done almost 70 programs now. That is with Ayurveda for the global wellness. Vishwa Kalyan ke liye Ayurveda can play a very important role for all of us. And there was one program together where allopathic and Ayurveda together, Dr. Shilpi Mohan and Dr. Parmeshwar Arora ji. We are thankful to Sector Skill Councils also, Wellness Sector Skill Council, Media Entertainment Sector Council, Startup Sector Skill Council, Entrepreneurship Sector Skill Council, and of course, Anand Prakash ji brought almost 12,000 people from Middle East all the way in the programs as a part of the journey. Tata Consultancy Services, we are proud of them. Thank you very much. On the Happy Teachers Day, there was a lot of program. Buddhism, we have done 50 programs. Vedanta, we have done 50 programs. And then at the same time, Next Education from Dubai and Flip Learn from Delhi, we have done 31 webinars we have done with the armed forces, Army, Navy, and Air Force, because the Honorable Finance Minister, she announced that there has to be a setting up of 100 Sainik schools in India. Every Sunday, 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time, we get the confluence of non-resident Indians from world over. We have done a large number of programs. We are thankful to AICT Chairman, All India Council for Technical Education, Chairman NCVT, National Council for Vocational Education and Training, and the recipient of the highest award in India, Dr. Jagdish N. Shetji, from the Honorable Prime Minister of India, based out of USA, Professor Vivek Shankar Natarajan, our advisor in US, and all other dignitaries, World Youth Skills Day, 10,000 audience, golf tourism, holiday and leisure tourism, film-induced tourism. How much wonder can it do? Can you imagine that this is Meghalaya? This is Northeast. This is untapped potential of the Northeast. Wonderful vision of the present Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. International Noida Film City is coming up. We have done a lot of case study. Thanks to the Union Territory and Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha and new film policy on 5th of August. There was a great. We have done about 8 special programs on film-induced tourism for the entire Northeast, 45 million people. And ladies and gentlemen, 37 sector skill councils. They are doing great job. Media Entertainment Sector Skill Council, 100 webinar we have done with them. Mr. Mohit Soni, Monica Bahel, Wellness Sector Skill Council, we have done 100 programs with them. Colonel Anil Kumar Pokhriyal, Management, Entrepreneurship and Startup. Chamber is totally dedicated to teachers and youth empowerment. During pandemic, with finishing school, we also set up e-Gurukul for service industry. And our focus is, because I come from tourism background, media entertainment background, and tourism suffered so badly. 5 crore people in India alone, those are travel agents, tour operator, tourist transporters, excursionists, and all others. Very challenging times for them. And our chamber strongly believes education is incomplete without skills, and education and skills are incomplete without micro, small, and medium enterprise entrepreneurship, what we have got. And finally, we would like to tell you that here's the YouTube channel. And today with this webinar, you can see how many programs. Tonight, do join us. This is the program which is going on is 1,312. 1,312 programs we will be completing with this webinar. And tonight, we will discuss with you at 8 p.m. because every day we have got a regular program at 8 p.m. And nowadays we are talking about services exports. Today we are going to focus on Africa. What is the potential in future 2040 onwards as far as African continent is concerned, what India can do, the leapfrog over there, and of course, ladies and gentlemen, whatsoever human mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. Let's come together. Let's move together. Let's make education relevant. And I would like to leave myself with the blank slate because I want to learn from Dr. Shilpi Mohan ma'am, and I want to learn from Professor Dr. Sanjeev Chaturvedi ji. Those have been very kind to be with us today for this particular platform. All yours. And while giving respect to the ladies, I would request Dr. Shilpi Mohan ma'am to take on the journey forward and to invite our chief guest of the evening. And let's hear him and let's work out his views. With these words, hearty welcome to Dr. Shilpi Mohan ma'am and Professor Dr. Sanjeev Chaturvedi ji.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gulshan Sharma, for such a detailed presentation of the ongoing work by ISSI. It is indeed your efforts that it has taken such a long journey and that a relentless journey, which is still ongoing. I'll share my slides and take you through the journey to Uzbekistan. On behalf of Team ICSI and Dr. Gulshan Sharma, I extend a very warm welcome to Professor Dr. Sanjeev Chaturvedi for being the guest speaker tonight. Before we move to the hardcore presentation and hardcore discussion on education and business at Uzbekistan, I would like to give you a brief overview of how Uzbekistan is like. It is a part of Central Asian Republic, and it is a beautiful landlocked country. I went there in August, in the late August. It's really a beautiful country. It's a double landlocked country. That means the borders are surrounded by those countries which itself are landlocked. So it is in the north, there is Kazakhstan, south Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, where I'm presently posted, then Afghanistan. These all countries, they surround Uzbekistan. And the name itself is derived from three words, Uz, Bek, and Stan. Stan is an Iranian word which suggests about a place. Uz means own, Bek means leader. So it means that we are our own leaders. There's another version of it which suggests that it is derived from Uzbek tribe. So Uzbek, and then Bek means leader. So it's the 56th largest independent state. Although it is landlocked, but it has got 80 lakes and two very ancient and historical rivers, Amu Darya and Samdarya. Despite being a landlocked country, it has got a very advanced underground water and reservoir system in Central Asia. The local currency is Sum, which is Uzbek Sum. In Kyrgyzstan also it is Sum. And one Uzbek Sum is equivalent to 10,600, one US dollar is equal to 10,600 Uzbekistan Sum. It is one of the safest country in Central Asia. Quality of internet is little bit low, but the government is working on it. The official language is Uzbek, but most of the people, they speak Russian as well. It declared its independence on 1st of September. It has got a very high literacy rate and unemployment rate is very, very low. It is one of the most populous country in Central Asia and has got an open market with easy rules and returns, which about which Dr. Professor Sanjeev Chaturvedi will highlight upon. Let's look upon the history. It is the center part of the Silk Route, which extended from China to Europe. And it was once under Alexander the Great, and then subsequently by Genghis Khan, and then Amir Timur, and then Babur came into picture, who eventually established Mughal Empire in India in 1526 AD. Some of the interesting facts about the country. Uzbeks are highly regarded for their hospitality and kindness. They are very loving people. This I experienced when I went to Uzbekistan. Even if you lose any street or anywhere, they are always very keen and welcoming. And guest of the house is the most honored. It's like Atithi Devo Bhava, what we follow in India. The same thing is followed there. And most international visitors, they don't need a visa. And no visa if passport holders of Commonwealth of Independent States. So I went there from Kyrgyzstan, so we didn't require a visa. And the food is diverse because it is a part of the Silk Route. So the food is affected by Iranian, Arab, Russian, China, and Indian, has got an Indian touch as well. If you see pilav or pulao, what we call pulao, it's the same pilav, which is the national dish of Uzbekistan. It is said that it was invented by one of the cooks of Alexander the Great, and it is known as feast for the king. And other dishes are like mante, then samsa, what we call samsa, samosa, it is known as samsa there. So there are many dishes which are common, although most of the people are non-vegetarians. There is a very formal etiquette of pouring tea. They put 1 drop, then put 3 drops, and then only they pour the entire tea before serving, because it is considered as a ritual, and it is a heavily meat-based food which they eat. Bread is paramount and is never wasted. Lepioshka is the bread which is eaten over there. And it is said that you cannot just put it upside down, and it is never placed on the ground because it brings bad luck. It is also said that when people used to go for a long journey on Silk Route, people used to eat a bite of bread and they leave other part of the bread, so that once they used to come back, they used to eat that. So that is how it is so special and so lucky for them. And other than that, they also believe on some of the superstitions, like if cat crosses, then they wait and then only cross. It is something which is something similar which we see in India. Then handshakes are only done between men. With women, they don't touch, they just keep their hand on the chest, and that is how they wish. There are certain songs like Koshuk and the dialogue which is known as Lepar. Kushak is the martial art form, and sports are very much popular. Recently in 2020 Olympics, they won a gold medal in Taekwondo. Tennis, football, chess, they are very well played there and are loved by the people around. It is a country with big train network in Central Asia, one of the biggest in Central Asia. The stations are very beautiful and decorated, and it is a great tourist destination. And one of the most stunning destinations to shoot in the camera. This is one of the pics I had taken when I visited Registan Square in Samarkand. And one can revisit the entire Silk Route from Samarkand, Khiva, Bukhara, and Andijan, so as to get the feel of those ancient times. It is very rich in gold, and Muruntu gold mine is the one of its own kind. It is the oldest open pit gold mine. The country is rich in natural gas and uranium, and it is one of the largest producer of cotton in the world. Now comes the question, how are we related in the past? We Indians, how are we related? We are related through trade, through the Silk Route. And the Mughal Empire, as I mentioned in one of my previous slides, has its origin at Samarkand and Fargana Valley, from where Babur reached India in 16th century. And at the present times, we have a very strong historical and cultural ties. Erstwhile Prime Minister Shri Jawaharlal Nehru, accompanied by Srimati Indira Gandhi, visited Uzbekistan in 1955 and 61. Although that time it didn't gain independence. Then later on, Shri Lal Bahadur Shastri ji visited Tashkent for the famous Tashkent Agreement, and he died at this place. Indian cuisine, it's very popular over there. We have got a beautiful restaurant, Raj Kapoor restaurant in Tashkent. Bollywood is very popular. Indian songs like Jimmy Jimmy Aja Aja, they are very popular. And India is a very popular medical tourism destination. The doctors are very well respected there, and people want to come to India for their treatment. What about our future together? For this, we have Professor Dr. Sanjeev Chaturvedi. He is advisor India-Uzbekistan Entrepreneurship Development, and he is presently placed at Uzbekistan. He is a graduate in economics, MBA in marketing management, and MPhil in international business. He has 31 years of experience, 18 in industry and 13 in academics. And he has worked at senior position at Lanesta Industries and PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He has been an associate dean at IIM Business School, New Delhi, and he was professor at Amity University, Noida. He was dean at Symbiosis Group, Pune, and chief academic officer, Narsee Monjee University, Mumbai, and worked as director, National Institute of MSME, Hyderabad, which is again a government undertaking. Then he is still a visiting faculty at California State University and Birkbeck University, London, United Kingdom, and presently advisor at India-Uzbekistan Entrepreneurship Development Center at Tashkent. His area of interests are entrepreneurship and international business. So over to Dr. Professor Sanjeev Chaturvedi for his deliberations. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Shilpi. It's a great privilege today for me to be part of this interaction. I would first like to thank Major General Dr. Gulshan Sharma ji for giving us such an elaborate history of the chamber, and he spoke about the journey and also the continuing journey. तो एक उसके लिए शेर है कि मंजिल मिले ना मिले इसका गम नहीं, आप हमारे साथ हैं ये भी तो कुछ कम नहीं. So the journey what they started has become a success story in itself. So I wish Major Saab all the best wishes, and of course this journey should continue with more successes like what they have already achieved. And secondly, Dr. Shilpi, you have made my job little difficult because the PPT I prepared, you have almost covered everything in your presentation. But I will like to still take some time and give a different flavor to the, I would say, my presentation. So I am opening it. So presently, I am based in Tashkent at the Uzbekistan India Entrepreneurship Development Center. So just briefly, I will go through what exactly we are doing and what are then the opportunities, what we have visualized for, especially for Indian diaspora all across the globe. So it's a project under Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. The duration is for 2 years. Sometime it get extended with the consent of both the governments. Otherwise, it's 2 years. And this is the 5th center by EDII. EDII is the Entrepreneurship Development Institute of India, which is the first institute in India focusing only on entrepreneurship. And it has almost completed now 30 years since the last decades. And this is the one of the major projects which EDI has been doing with MEA. And we started this 5th center at Tashkent in November 2020. Before this, we had 4 centers in Southeast Asia, which is already functioning and handed over to the government of respective countries. The 5th is the only center in Central Asia. And after Tashkent and Uzbekistan, we are now expanding our activities in the next year to other Central Asian countries also. So now we'll be looking forward to meeting Dr. Shilpi sometime very soon. And sixth, we have just opened this month in Kigali, Rwanda. So we got 5 more such centers approval to be opened in Africa. So the sixth has just opened, and just maybe 10 days back only in Kigali, Rwanda. And so it's a very good journey for EDII also, and all the people who are involved with these centers to not only cater to the entrepreneurship mindset in India, but also what we have learned and expertise, we can also share with our brothers and sisters outside our country. So it has some focus areas is to create new entrepreneurs, uh, capacity building of existing entrepreneurs, and also increase trade between two countries. That is another one major focus where we can all link forward to the members of ICSI. And education is always a focus area for EDII, because we also run a 2 years MBA program on entrepreneurship, and perhaps the first one in India, if not in Asia. So this is the broad areas where we are working, and we are very happy that whenever entrepreneurship word rises in, or MSME rises, word rises in any ministry, we are one of the few institute which is automatically come into the minds of the ministries. Now, Dr. Shilpi has already covered about the historical route of Silk Route from Samarkand to Bukhara and other areas. Andijan is a state which is in Uzbekistan, where Babur was born, and I had a chance to see the birthplace of Babur. And also a small museum is there, which is dedicated to the tourist there. Taimur is a very, I would say, the respected person historically by the Uzbek people and also some of the Central Asian countries. Samsa and biryani, which Dr. Shilpi mentioned, is also has a link from Uzbekistan. And there are about 4,000 words in Hindi also, which is similar to Uzbek, like hafta, lekin, kadam, and all those things. So to understand Uzbek language is not so difficult like you understand Russian or any other language. Hindi movies are very popular, as Dr. Shilpi also mentioned. Raj Kapoor, Mithun Chakravarti, Amitabh Bachchan, and now Shah Rukh Khan is very, very popular. Just in October, we have a Tashkent International Film Festival where Randhir Kapoor and Mithun Chakravarti also came, and it was a security issue even at this age of both the heroes. I'm surprised that if Shah Rukh Khan comes there, it will be a law and order problem in that particular city. So they are extremely popular Bollywood heroes and heroines. And even in Uzbek channels, you will find that one Hindi film dubbed in Uzbek language is running every day, not if not to two such channels. And so this is to give you an idea that this is they know India, although we do not know much before we go there and see what is happening in these countries, but they have a lot of respect for Indians. That is another important area which I will cover in one of these slides. So the modern Uzbekistan, which got independence with the unification of Germany and the dismantling of USSR. So 5 countries, which are Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, and Tajikistan, they became the CIS country as we now know them. And last 5 years have been very, very instrumental in opening of the economy with the present president. And he has a very close bonding with our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Modi ji. And every year, either he was coming to India or Modi ji was going to Uzbekistan Only last year it came as a virtual meeting, but this shows that Uzbekistan is very important for both the economies. And now, since the Chabahar port at Iran is also started functioning, the logistic issue between the two countries is also to be addressed very shortly. Almost all MNC products, you name any electronic products, it's available there. Right now, there are many MNC factories are being put there in the Uzbekistan to cater not only to Uzbekistan but also to the adjoining countries, also CIS countries. There is major influence of Russia, Turkey, and China, but slowly now they are drifting their attention to Indian companies. And I would give this credit to the pharma industry in particular, because pharma industry almost have 80% business of the all the medicines which are going from India to Uzbekistan. And this has created a lot of respect for pharma industry and doctors, and of course, medical tourism, which Dr. Shilpi also mentioned. Some are the eye openers, and for those who have not visited Uzbekistan, that once you land there, you will find the broad roads like Moscow, good lights, cleanliness. I think cleanliness is one of the highlight of this country, that everybody wants to keep their houses, their roads, their streets, their common places very, very clean. And it is you will find that many people, when you are living in front of a garbage dump area, there is no you will not see any garbage there, but people will come in car, take out their garbage from their dicky or boot, and then they will put into the garbage. So that type of cleanliness is built in the from the schooling time. And when the school children go to school, they carry the garbage of their house, and first they put the garbage and then they go to the school. So that is the upbringing which they have gone into, and that is why you will find that the entire Uzbekistan is extremely clean, and very good way of waste management is being taken there. You have a lot of good pedestrian. It's a walking pleasure paradise, I would say, and cycling also. And those who are a habitual early riser, I think you will find CIS countries one of the best countries to walk and do cycling or exercise in the morning. Great infrastructure, which means that roads and lights are in villages also. I was doing a project of Amul Dairy in Uzbekistan, and I traveled to one of the remotest area of Uzbekistan in 2-3 months, which I was involved in that project. And I could find light even in the smallest shop, smallest house, smallest and remotest area. And roadable, I was traveling with in a taxi for almost 3 months. So it was really a pleasure to see that there may be some cracks in the roads, but roads is available, and that is a motorable road. So that's another greatest, I would say, achievement of this country. Role of women, although it's supposed to be a, I would not say family-oriented country, but you will find that the women are equally have an important role in the economy. If you go to any bank, all the banking system is you will find women. Out of 10, even I think 8 will be women, and 2 will be men. In retail shops also, you will find mostly women working. Pharma industry, hospitals, of course, telecom, beauty parlors, fashion industry related shops and industry, handicraft and agriculture. The challenge here is that they get little, I would say, married little early. So some of the women has to leave little early and maybe give up their jobs or the profession, but still they are in the forefront of the economy, and they drive and they wear one of the latest fashion which is available worldwide. And as far as the literacy is concerned, it is 99% literacy, and education is free till 12th class, both for girls and boys. So I would say that is a very big uh, advantage for any country, that if you have 99% literacy. And it is very we are very happy to see that there is safety of women also, even whenever there is cold wave or maybe hot wave. You will find women taking taxis late in night at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and especially there is zero crime rate in this country. So that's a very, very big advantage for women work, and especially for working women also. Now, recently, the focus has shifted from Russian language to English language. And you will find that, in fact, in every broad road of, at least in Tashkent, there is a English teaching classes on IELTS or spoken language, because they know that if we have to connect it with global economy, we have to learn English. So that's another important where Indians can also be very happy to see that many young people are learning English, and maybe this will come into effect and impact the economy in next 5 years. Now, current scenario, the pharma industry is about $1.4 billion trade between India and Uzbekistan. Medical tourism, as Dr. Shilpi also mentioned, there is medical agencies, tourism agencies, which has connection in India with top hospitals and medical institutions. And so they give us entire package for the medical tourism, and which is becoming very, very popular. In fact, some of the major hospitals have also started operating in Uzbekistan. They have tied up with good hospitals there, but still the demand of Indian doctors is so high, because first of all, because of the quality of the doctors, and secondly, the price if we compare it to European nations. IT sector is another one area which is becoming very, very popular. And Uzbek government has given Indian government 2 IT parks, which is also now advised by one of the advisors like me. And they are doing extremely good work. The only challenge is that the software which is used there is either Russian or Russian, not Uzbek even. So, but backend activities can always be a part of this. So KPOs, BPOs, and service sector in IT sectors is also taking place in Uzbekistan. Educational universities are coming in a big way. I think more than 10 universities are in Tashkent itself, including from Westminster and TOBB from Turkey. We have 2 Indian universities, Amity University and Sharda University, already operational in Uzbekistan. And many universities from other European, from Singapore, European Union is also coming in a big way. So education is becoming, and also we have a lot of respect for Indian professors apart from the doctors also. So that is another challenge, that we have to keep up the pace with the opening of universities, and lot of I would say contractual job is given to Indian faculty members for 9 months or 10 months in a year. And so that is another area where you will find many Indian faculties working in these universities. Defense tie-ups is one of the major, I would say, area for a long decade, so almost 30-40 years, including India, USSR times. And there is a permanent SCO, which we call Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which is actively involved in defense tie-ups and training of army, and of course technology, etc. Iran port, which is now a very important port for India, especially with our issues with some of our neighboring countries. Chabahar has become as the nodal point for surface transport, but still the container takes about 2 to 3 months to reach from, say, Mumbai to Tashkent. So that's it's expensive also. So it's a big challenge for our logistics. So logistics can also be one of the areas where we can also seek opportunities, which has tremendous opportunities in future. Uh, it is very close if we go by flight. So it's a 3-hour flight from Delhi to Tashkent. So air cargo is not a problem, but yes, the surface transport is still a challenge for many of the uh, people who are wanting to export to Uzbekistan or vice versa. Now, areas of opportunities, English courses. Many Indians have started taking, opening these centers in Tashkent and other cities, major cities. Educational tie-ups, including some of the industry tie-ups, are also taking places with the universities which are not Indian, but they want to have some exposure to Indian faculty and Indian universities. Supply chain management and logistic is another area which I mentioned, especially through the land surface transport is a big opportunity, including cold storage, containers, and of course containers for perishable goods. All these are very important in today's time. Agri-business, because still it is an agrarian economy, and I think the packaging industry, the processing industry in India can also be related to agriculture, can also be a big opportunities in uh, Uzbekistan. And we have started conducting since October onwards some of the major exhibitions. They have now reopened their exhibitions, so lot of exhibitions are lined up in the next 5 to 6 months in Uzbekistan. So this can also give some of the ideas that how we can use the opportunities there, and we can have some tie-ups there in these through these exhibitions. IT enabled services is again one of the uh, 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 big boost, and they have also very great respect for IT industry and IT experts from India. But again, the language is a problem. So creating software will be a challenge, but backend can be done easily from here. And it is half the cost of even India. So that's a big service center which is opening by major IT service companies. Auto industry and services. 90% of the cars are from Chevrolet. They took over the Daewoo closed plant and started making Chevrolet. So you will find even the Spark and small cars which are now not available even in India. They are running like a taxis in Uzbekistan. So 90% of the cars are from Chevrolet, but their services, their parts, their accessories are still a challenge there. And two-wheelers are not there. So two-wheelers are slowly making entry. So if anybody is in electronic vehicles, especially two-wheelers or maybe equipments or machine parts, they can also be a great opportunity, have a great opportunity in Uzbekistan. Sports equipment, as Dr. Shilpi said, that sports are very close to Uzbek people. Uh, they don't manufacture much of the equipments there, so that can be one more area where can there be a lot of opportunities in sports equipments. And also recently when the team came from Olympics, those who were medal winners, the president gave them uh, one car and one house at the airport itself. The moment they landed at the airport, they were given one key of their house and one key of their car. So that is the focus of the present government and present president. So sports equipment can be one of the areas where you can always be focusing on. Dairy products and processing. As I mentioned that I was working with Amul, I had a chance to see some of the farmers who had 35,000 cows in one place. I have never seen so many cows in my life at one place, even in Gujarat, which is the center of Amul. But they are giving those milk only to Nestle for making coffee, chocolates, and milk products, etc. And they don't drink fresh they don't cater to fresh milk like we got in cities like in India, but it's a packed. So dairy products and processing, anybody involved in that has a tremendous potential in this country. Last slide of the what I want to mention is about the medical equipments. Since now many hospitals across the globe is opening their centers there, including India, so medical equipments and anything which is perishable or replaceable after a certain life is a big opportunity. And of course, pharma has a big respected name in Uzbekistan. This can be one of the areas where immediately you can find a partner who is interested in going for a tie-up or a buyback system from India. Some of the pathological labs have started coming in because it's a precursor to your medical tourism also, and hence many pathological labs from India are also putting up their foot in Uzbekistan and catering to other neighboring countries also. Apart from pharma industry, Ayurveda and natural products is also gaining popularity. Especially Japanese products which are natural is becoming very popular. But Ayurveda is also there. So anybody who is involved in these sectors can also open a good center or maybe a shop there for these products. Yoga is already very popular since Modi ji made it a part of our cultural heritage. And in Tashkent, where we have Lal Bahadur Shastri Cultural Center, there is a dedicated yoga teacher and a Kathak teacher, which is sponsored by Government of India. So they are there, and there you will find a lot of yoga centers across Uzbekistan, at least, where all type of since children to old age, everybody is involved in this. So that is also one of the areas. So many yoga teachers from India has gone as a private trainers and started working in some of the big cities. FMCG products and servicing is another one sector which we look forward. It's slowly picking up because they are always importing everything. The manufacturing is not so good in good stage, I would say. They are very starting very slowly, but if one can invest for 2-3 years, I think that will be one industry where FMCG products and their servicing can be part of it. Agriculture equipment and machinery, I have already talked about. Hand tools, even cycles, cycle parts, hosiery and hosiery machines are always welcomed in this country, which is slowly picking up. And lastly, very importantly, home appliances. Most of the home appliances are imported from neighboring countries, not neighboring countries, but China, Russia, and Turkey. So, but their after sales services is very poor. So this is one area where we can always cater to Uzbek and adjoining countries. This I will like to miss, but those who are looking for investing in Uzbekistan, you must first visit Uzbekistan to understand what type of economy is there, what are the paying capacity for a particular product or services, and you should make a plan for at least 3 to 5 years to gain some profit out of your venture. I think short-term profits are not very conducive to the Uzbek economy, but long-term investment is very profitable. That is my hunch. And we always say that you find a local partner. I am working with the Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We have our office in that Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We have 25,000 members of Uzbekistan. So we are able to find any Indian company or individual to find a good, suitable Uzbek partner, which can be very helpful in settling and finding new opportunities in Uzbekistan. So that is all from my side. And thank you one more for listening to me and tolerating me also. Thank you.
Such a wonderful insight, and thank you very much. in fact, you have set the platform. The canvas is so big because when we look into the entire arena, there is a lot which can be taken. And thank you very much for giving us such a beautiful insight, and along with Dr. Shilpi Mohan ma'am. Now, medical tourism, I'll come separately to Dr. Shilpi ma'am. Before that, sir, please kindly do let us know, when we talk about post-pandemic, the soft skills have become very important. And as you have made a mention that now children are learning English language also, IT has also got a very important role to play. And when we look at certain skills, I'll take a small example. Let's take it in India. If I look towards the children, wonderful children of northeast part of India, they are very good at music, dances, dressing up, fashion, beauty, culture, and handicraft, craft, and couple of other things is, when you talk about. So what do you feel if you have to highlight 4 to 5 top skills of the youth of Uzbekistan?
Okay, a very valid question. I would like, I in fact forget to mention one area that once you see the youth of Uzbekistan and of course other CIS country, they wear their latest fashion, they do the latest makeup. And that is, I think, is a part of inbuilt in their culture. And of course, the girls and boys are very good looking, fair, tall, and they have very good, I'd say, faces.
Physique.
Physique also. And and that is because that every parents want to see that their children is not only good looking and beautiful, but also they get a right person or right men or women in long run. So that is the focus of the people to groom their children, at least from outwards. Now comes the soft skill part, which you mentioned. I found that somehow in the school level, they are not allowed to speak too much like we do in India. And so once they come into graduation or post graduation, to take them out from the shell to be outspoken, to talk about their mind, talk about what they're thinking, what are their future plans, it takes time. So there are many centers and even in university that they are now taking up grooming classes, soft skill classes, as in addition to the course curriculum. So there is one very important thing which they also understand, that even if they are in bank or even in their retail business, they have to interact with the people. And if I am a girl, I have to interact with boys also, with the elders also, with the small kids also. So that grooming is taking place, but still Indians are far, far ahead in that if we talk about the grooming part.
Okay. Thank you very much for that input, because why I wanted to share, when Dr. Shilpi ma'am moved to Central Asia, that time I gave her the inputs and I discussed with her before Corona. We were called by the Uzbeki ambassador who's posted in Delhi, along with his Secretary Tourism, Secretary Commerce, and Secretary, one more person. I think he was taking care of culture and education together. So I had gone for a cup of tea, had an interaction with them. They were very keen.
Yeah.
They saw the model of ours of 1994 when we brought India's first finishing school in service industry in India. So this finishing school also thereafter became a part of Indian education ecosystem in higher education.
Yeah.
Because there is a policy called RUSA, Rashtriya Uchatar Shiksha Abhiyan. So with the Ministry of earlier HRD and now Ministry of Education, we worked on that concept. And if you go onto the website of AICTE, All India Council for Technical Education, which takes care of about 9,000 plus colleges and institutions of management and engineering. On the home page itself, on the drop-down menu of education, you'll find our finishing school over there.
Great.
So with you being over there, with Dr. Shilpi Mohan ma'am being our chamber's advisor over there, this would be the time we would be more than happy. Today, I am not spending much of time on that. We made a proper video on Uzbekistan for finishing school, because you are in entrepreneurship, and one is the manufacturing part and one is the soft part, the services part. Etiquette, manners, gesture, body language, articulation, personality enhancement, confidence building, critical thinking, logical thinking, analytical thinking, and beautiful thinking, positive thinking. All that can come from the finishing school along with you. Our chamber would be more than happy with your efforts if we can see the roads in and if we can work in that direction.
Sure, I think that this is a very good idea. And that is the need of the youth also there, that although you may be literate, but unless until you express yourself, you express your ideas, how other will know about you. So I think we look forward to that idea.
And sir, another input I would like to share with you. We are working very closely with 3 sector skill councils. One is the Wellness, Beauty and Wellness Sector Skill Council. Second is Media Entertainment Sector Skill Council. And third is the Startup Entrepreneurship Management and Train the Trainers Sector Skill Council. And with Dr. N.S. Kalsi, we worked out the entire program back
Dr. Shilpi, can you hear him?
No, I think there is some issue at his end.
Yeah.
I think we should wait.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, may I have a question from you till
please.
Yeah. Do you actually see language as a barrier over there, or English?
Who could have taken the ideas together world over? They did not share knowledge with others. That was the unfortunate part. And now the time has come. You have made a mention about IT enabled services and everything related to that. We will work in that particular direction. It's very, very important. We would like to work very closely with you on that. Now come to second part. You mentioned about 2 universities, Amity University and Sharda University has already gone over there. Yeah. I think, sir, the backbone of any platform to flourish, research component is very, very important, which we have to take into consideration. If we can work out a kind of a strategy, what is services exports? It has got different modes and modules. It is not only somebody got to go physically out of the country as a services exports. We can take all the combinations, permutations together. Can we work out a strategy that few of the trainers and master trainers which are with our chamber and they excel in a particular field, they can be associated with your setup, and we can take on the entire Central Asia together. We can work out a strategy. That is one part. Secondly, children, those are interested to come from Central Asia to India for higher education, we should work out a strategy once again. Why not they should pick up a kind of a module, because we have done during this pandemic a kind of a research for almost inputs of 148 countries for the entire globe. So that could be another area which we can think of. And finally, the other day, His Excellency, our India's ambassador, Prabhatji was there on that platform, and he discussed in detail that day. And he was very keen. Medical tourism, education, tourism itself, the entertainment tourism and the youth tourism. can be combined quite a bit, cultural exchange and student exchange, faculty exchange. I think Dr. Shilpi Mohan, ma'am, being based over there, can work very closely with you and we can work out a strategy. Because I got a lot of threads earlier, sir, from South Korea. They set up a lot of camps in Central Asia, free camps where they give the free diagnosis, and thereafter the patients go all the way to South Korea. So I think our cardiologists being based over there, all the way in Central Asia, together we all can work out a strategy. And you being there, I think a lot of leverages can be. Your views and inputs on that, sir.
Sure, Major General. In fact, I have been now almost more than 1 year in Uzbekistan, and I am blessed that I have traveled due to this Amul dairy product to almost the entire Uzbekistan. And what I find was that South Korea has a large presence almost for 2 decades in this cultural exchange, student exchange, and of course, setting up some free base camps and later on getting leverages out of it. So most of the youth which I have interacted in Manius University, their first destination is they are looking to go to South Korea. As far as education is concerned, or training is concerned, or even job is concerned. Second, regarding India, they have little apprehension. One is, of course, the language, because we speak very high language according to them, high level of English. Second, they are afraid of large population here. To be very honest, they are not exposed to so much of crowd in their country. And third, Indian economy, if we compare it to South Korean economy, is still South Korean have better, I would say, marks on that. So all this make them tilt towards South Korean economy and South Korea as a nation. But yes, with the right inputs from our side, from embassy side, and of course the chamber side, we can start with a small group of people who can be our brand ambassador of our efforts, and they can also become a role model for other students to come to India for various activities, or vice versa. We also take Indian students to Uzbekistan and other countries in Central Asia. I think that will be a big boost for our chamber, and of course your chamber, and of course Dr. Shilpi's efforts also.
Wonderful, wonderful. Dr. Shilpi ma'am, my entire family owes you in personal capacity a lot. You saved my younger brother in the second phase of Corona. And he got his second life. And thereafter, when he developed the vascular problem, you are one of the finest cardiologists and specialists who is giving a tele-services, medical services. I think Dr. Sanjeev Chaturvedi ji can further discuss with you, deliberate with you, what can we do, how can we help the humanity. And just as a gesture, my brother has written for you, which he has posted as well. जय श्री राम। हमसे मरीजों के लिए पुख्ता सबूत हैं, हाथों में आपके शिफा, ईश्वर की आप दूत हैं। So ये आपके लिए है, खासकर you know, because when you save somebody's life, and when somebody gets a second life, you can well imagine how the person would feel. My mother sends lots of blessings to you, and Professor Dr. Sanjeev Chaturvedi ji, I'm so indebted to you. I'm so grateful to you. This is just a humble beginning of our relationship. We would like to go a long way with you and Dr. Shilpi Mohan ma'am being over there. Let's work out all of us, and little closing remarks from Dr. Shilpi Mohan ma'am, and then we close the session.
Uh, First of all, I would like to ask a small question from you and then go ahead with that. Because meanwhile that internet got disconnected, I was asking you that question.
Yeah.
As I've seen in Kyrgyzstan, English is not prevalent as of now here, and language is an issue which I am also facing. So do you think at present English is prevalent and people, they do communicate in English? And is there any scope of telemedicine over there, which you can see?
Because I am also teaching in about 7, 8 universities, which are either from Uzbekistan or from other countries, apart from Indian university. I find the level of even MBA students, English is not very good. Out of 100 students, maybe 10 may be speaking very good English, like our students. And on the road or in general, they understand English, but as far as speaking is concerned, that is a very big issue. Over the years, 1 year or so, I think if would have conversed many students, many people on the road, they were hardly less than 10 or 20 who have fluently answered my query. So that is a problem, that even they understand English, communication is a problem with them. And this is prevalent in Uzbekistan also. But the brighter side is that the third language which is becoming popular after Russian and Uzbek is English. And the young generation have understood that if we don't understand and start speaking English, we will be remaining in Uzbekistan or CIS country. So those who are looking forward going abroad, or maybe marrying abroad, or even working abroad, they are learning English very, very quickly, and they are very good learner. That is a very plus point with them.
Wonderful, wonderful. Anything else, Dr. Shilpi ma'am?
One more thing was there, is telemedicine prevalent over there? That
Yeah.
was
No, telemedicine is not very prevalent. Some of the Indian hospitals which are thinking to come to Uzbekistan, they are giving some consultation from India to their agents or the agencies to whom they have hired there. So anybody, but the challenge is that our doctors speak in English, then it is translated into Uzbek or Russian. So translation is there, but English directly is not very prevalent.
So on behalf of Dr. Gulshan Sharma and team ICISI, I extend a very, we are actually thankful to you that you have spent so much time with us and enlightened us on this subject. It was truly a pleasure to be with you and to learn so much from you. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone,
Thank you.
and all the
Thank you.
participants.
And my deepest gratitudes and thanks to both of you for having come on this platform. कोरोना के बाद एक चीज समझ आ गई है समस्त संसार को, हमको सिर्फ मांगना ही नहीं है, हमको देना भी है. We have to spread, we have to give more and more if we want to live happily on this planet. So Professor Dr. Sanjeev Chaturvedi ji, as a gesture from our chamber, number one, we offer you, let us set up a finishing school in Uzbekistan. We would be more than happy. Number two, any day you wish to organize a service industry webinar to give the insight, all the 54 stakes what we have got. There are 54 components of service industry. Our chamber would be more than happy. We can organize a special session where you can take the youth, you can take teachers, you can take others. Number three, becoming trainer or a master trainer for service industry, where it is not customer service, where it is not customer care, where it is not customer delight, it is called amaze the customer. We can give the fine tips, we can work out, and once telemedicine can be there, then the telepathy can also be there, and we can work out a strategy. Teletourism can also be there. Let's make some humble beginning, because whatever threads our chamber has built up, the time has come, we should collaborate and we should have a creativity and work together, all of us. our deepest gratitudes and thanks. Thank you very much for coming on this platform today. So green morning, green afternoon, and green evening world over, wherever people are. I'm grateful to all of them. Thank you very much for posting such a wonderful views on the YouTube. And thank you very much for joining us. Stay fit, stay fine.